Welcome to the Solipsist Cinema Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the season finale and overall the whole season 2 of Severance. I'm joined by my girlfriend Jackie.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And my good friend Brandon, who you actually really got me to watch the show just because of your recommendation.
Yeah, it's a great show. Glad you watched it. I'm sure you're glad you watched it.
I am. Yeah, I kind of slept on it when it first came out. I did watch the first episode. I liked it, but I think there was just so much else to watch at the time that I just didn't get around to it. Then now with season 2 airing, yeah, I had to see what everyone was talking about.
Definitely. Yeah, I actually had a friend, the friend who got me into Severance, didn't like season 2. I don't have his opinion about the season finale, but he likes season 1 a lot, and he's like, season 2 is missing all the things I like from season 1. Not necessarily all of them, but just like he's like, it's so different, and I'm like, yeah, but like it's correct. Like it's the next evolution of everything that the season 1 was.
Right.
Yeah, because the only thing I think you would miss overall from season to season is just that you really don't have them just in the office, all four of them kind of just going through the day. There's always someone out of office that you're cutting back to.
I think for him, season 2, like some of the weirder stuff just kind of got to him. Because in season 1, it was like teases of the weird stuff, right? It was like they're going to a weird house with a bunch of people wearing like giant mask things. And that's like, 5 minutes of one episode, one place. But like season 2, it just kind of goes there sometimes. You're like, whoa, this is something else.
Yeah, speaking of the mask, we're just gonna go just straight into spoilers, but that's the one where, like as sort of like a reward, they have like the kind of eyes wide shut, like almost orgy of like everyone wearing the goat heads, but they're not really naked, so it's not quite there. But it's very like theatrical.
Did you pick up what the different characters are, the different heads are?
Maybe not. What'd you hear about it?
They're the Tempers.
Oh yes.
Oh, when Cobell
frolic.
was talking about them, it kind of cuts to them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're each of the Tempers.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, let's just start randomly. Because I wanted to talk about that with the Tempers. So yeah, when this straight into the finale, when Cobell is saying that basically the numbers that they've been doing Cold Harbor are Gemma. It is weird because it kind of reframes like everything. Season 1, I was kind of...
Mark was doing were Gemma. We're not sure what the other numbers are. We don't know who the other people were working on. But yes, the numbers are a person.
And that's another thing, too, that, if Mark's... He has the most important case, Cold Harbor, but everyone else is working, so I doubt that they're really doing busy work. They have to be doing potentially, like, plans for other people. Because what we see, there's only really one Gemma that they have like multiple personalities and like lives in, but I think they're probably just setting up more people. But yeah, so season 1 though, what I was gonna say is I really thought that it would kind of be pointless, like there wouldn't really be a payoff to the numbers, because I just kind of felt like if Lumen is having like inputting all this data, they kind of should have the answers ready, because like how are they gonna know if you choose the correct numbers and bins? Like it seems like they already have the answer key. But now I'm like, okay, with season 2, it seems like they're just, all those numbers are just like raw data, and Mark's just assembling from the ether the individual, whatever personalities just emerge.
I agree. I was really impressed by that. In season 1, I also thought that they might be a throwaway. And then in season 2, when they explained what they were, you could go back to season 1 and see that the boxes were labeled, and like it was all like thought about ahead of time. And I was like, oh, like this was a setup. Like this was never just a throwaway. You always knew what you were doing with this. That's really impressive to me.
Yeah, and I wonder if any of like the eagle eye viewers that are kind of like categorizing and cataloging the whole show, if there is any overlap with Gemma walking in, through that hallway, and you can kind of see her other personality names. I wonder if any of those actually are any cases that anyone else worked on. I guess I doubt it, just because how strong of the relationship between Mark and Gemma are. But yeah, you just wonder what else that the other 3 people are working on the whole time.
Yeah, that is a weird one, right? Because we know, like, it seems likely that like Mark was able to work on Cold Harbor because he knew Gemma, and like, even though Mark S wasn't conscious of who Gemma wasn't conscious of Mark Scout's life outside of Lumen, it still seemed like on an intuitive level he had some understanding of what these different parts of this person that Mark Scout knew so well outside of the office, in such a way that he was able to break her down into these different boxes. I mean, that's what he was doing, breaking down her tempers into these different boxes. And so, yeah, like, you would think that for Dylan it might be his wife, but we know that it's not his wife because we see her outside of the office. We have no idea who it might be for Helly, and Irving doesn't really seem to have anyone in his life. In fact, in his outside life, it seems like he's had bad experiences with Lumen in the past, and he's some sort of like covert anti-Lumen operative, which is really interesting.
Yeah, the stuff he started out really interesting for me about like how he seemingly was like already maybe reintegrated by I forget the woman that's doing the experiment on Mark, but I kind
The
of feel
doctor,
like
I don't remember.
I kind of feel like she's tried it on him before because he's painting the
Oh, really?
pictures of the hallway at home, but you never really know
Yeah.
how he has that memory.
Yeah, I mean, it's also possible that he's just been an employee of Lumen's for a really long time. Maybe he has. If you remember, James Egan was talking to Helly and was talking about the early models of the Severance chips where that had the blue and green switch lights in them. It's possible that Irving has a very early model of the Severance chip, and so it doesn't quite work the way that other Severance chips do. Maybe that's why he remembers the black hallway.
Yeah, that's so true.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Because, yeah, what I was going to say, though, too, that, yeah, he really started out being almost one of my favorite characters in season 1. And then in season 2, I guess after the big drama of, like, the dinner scene where he's at Christopher Walken's character's house, which was really good. After that, I guess he just kind of was there and he just kind of had to go away. They kind of ended up kind of writing him off of the show, it feels like. Like, I didn't
don't
really
think
care
so.
about if he's going on the train or not,
Yeah, there's no way they're done with him.
Absolutely not. No, I would be very surprised if he just left. I found Irving's character progression to be very compelling. I mean, mostly Irving B, right? Everybody else we've sort of, well, in season 1 it was Mark Scout and Mark S, and we didn't really see anybody else outside of the office very much, except for towards the end of the season where they got to do the overtime contingency. But Irving B had this really interesting progression where he went from being like a staunch, true believing company man, and then slowly, as he fell in love with what is Walken's character's name? I don't remember. His partner's name is Fields, but I don't remember what his actual name is. Anyway, as Irving B fell in love, he lost his loyalty to the company and like started to think for himself, and it seems like the person that Irving B is now is a lot more reflective of, is it Irving Bailiff, I think, outside of the office, where he's sort of like this hardcore, like staunch, like anti-Lumen person. He almost drowned Helly, which seems like a very, outside of the office, we know that he rides a motorcycle and like, has all these papers trying to link up all these different Lumen employees. Like, it seems like he's doing all this covert work and is kind of like this hardcore, like, spy character almost. And so like Irving B is almost becoming that also.
Yeah, and that was really the most interesting aspect of it for me, because he does him, and then the Christopher Walken character. I think they're probably the two people that we know who have been severed for the longest amount of time. And I know Christopher Walken's character, I remember his boyfriend, he treats it as a slip up where he says like he's actually worked for Lumen for, I forget what he says, but something like 20 years or something like that. But the Severance program has only been going on for a certain amount of time. So, yeah, I think like Christopher Walken's character,
Bert G.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bert. Yeah. Yeah. He definitely has a lot of knowledge that no one else really has. So I like him, and I wish we had more of this. That dinner scene was so cool. His like, how he was saying that he wanted to go in there kind of like to save his soul, almost like he was almost irredeemable on the outside and he wanted to be able to get into heaven somehow.
I find some of the philosophical questions raised by the show to be very, very compelling. And some of the thought that the writers have put into the show on those points. I don't know if you two both have religious backgrounds, but like it's interesting how they have these Christian characters offering different points of view. Like, I think that severed employees, the severed people do have their own souls. And like that's fascinating, right? Like watching a show like that, you wouldn't think about how different people from different religious ideologies might respond to this, new technology. And I think that that's pretty it really makes the world building immersive for me.
Yeah, and it just because imagine your Audi's like a horrible serial killer, whatever, but your Innie at work is like a great guy. It seems pretty like cruel and unjust to condemn them to hell just because of
Right.
just because your Audi's doing something so horrible. And then
Well,
like
and
does
like
Gemma have like 25 souls now?
Oh my
right,
god.
right. And the Innies do seem to have like their own very distinct beings, right?
Yeah, I think
Um
something the show like accomplishes is that you really do believe that they're separate people.
I don't know if you had a structure planned, but like we sort of opened with Mark S, went on to Irving. Did you want to open up by talking about the four main characters, or did you want to move into something else?
We could. I didn't really have a structure. I was just gonna talk about whatever comes
Okay.
to
Well,
mind, basically.
let's talk about
Well, I wanted to
not Helly. Go ahead.
talk about Gemma. Like, how
Yeah.
do I want to know how they got her mind into a bunch of numbers, where they have to like just pick a few numbers for her. What is it, like her moods or something like that?
Yeah, like her tempers.
Her
Yeah.
How are
tempers,
they
yeah.
doing that? Like, I want them to explain to, like, how are they doing that? And also, why does she have to have like 25 innies? Like, why can't it just be like one innie who's going through like all of those experiences? I want them to
I
explain that.
think I think it's my impression that in each of the different rooms she does particular things that are meant to trigger or draw out different responses from whatever her tempers are. And as she's going through those experiences, Mark is like categorizing them and sorting them out as they're happening.
Right.
Yeah, just
Right?
kind of
Like
refining it into, because I think like long term they do want someone that's just kind of like dull and just like unemotional, how she is like when she's like disassembling the crib. So I think that's like the end goal, and they just have to
well,
have
and
the personalities to get there.
they've done this before too, right? Because I mean, we're cutting way ahead here, but is it Gwendolyn, the sheep lady? She's like, how many
Yeah.
more must I give? So it's like they've done this a lot,
Yeah, that's true. Cause yeah, you
or
can
or
tell.
things like it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's honestly never really gave that thought if they've actually had other Gemmas before. Not any that were as successful as her for sure, but
Yeah.
there's obviously been
Sure.
other attempts, and probably that's when the goats were sacrificed. Maybe they like sacrificed a goat every time a successful personality was made, like in the past.
Yeah, definitely could be that. Let's see. Do you guys want to talk about Dylan a little bit, and then maybe move to Helly?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I guess one to add to what Jackie was saying about the Gemma, like yeah, like her numbers. Yeah, because we were talking about it just now, when we were watching it, that and like you were saying, Brandon, where it's almost like her connection to Mark is like what allows Mark to be able to, yeah, like kind of know her and like know which numbers to pull. But I guess that
Yeah.
goes like kind of against Severance in the first place, because like the whole point of Severance is that you don't have any connection to your innie and outie.
Right.
So I get like
Right, and
maybe
Yeah, that's so true.
we saw Kobel watching him so closely and watching and like engineering all these different interactions to ensure that he had no knowledge or memory of it. And it was a really interesting reveal when we find out that Kobel was actually the one who invented Severance and is probably some kind of very proficient neuroscientist because of it.
yeah, she must be. And yeah, I guess we could just go to her a little bit real fast, because I really liked, I don't know, I wanted to like that episode more, but I do like what they did with her character. And I like
Which episode are you talking about?
I think it was like episodes like 6 or so when they kind of show her go back to like where she grew up and like she finds
Yeah.
the journal and everything. I don't know what it is I didn't like about it. Like that one and also like the Soul Gemma and Mark episode. I didn't like those two as much as everyone else did.
I liked the episode quite a bit. It was interesting learning that Cobell was a child laborer essentially, and like I don't know, almost like a religious indoctrinee from a young age. It yeah,
And
it
also like
that was
looking
very interesting. Go ahead.
also looking at her town, like where it all started or one of the places it started and how like everybody is living there now. That was cool to see.
Yeah, it was cool to see like some of the real world because that's like a whole another like theory of like is everyone in the whole town severed? Because when you see outside
Oh
shots, there's
yeah.
not even that many people walking
Well,
around or anything like
I
that.
mean, we remember that she invented the severance procedure, so it's almost a question of like, or like it makes you wonder if this is how Lumen approached its employees before they had the severed procedure. They
Yeah.
basically enslaved the town. It seemed like they were working very cheaply and very hard.
Yeah, and I guess his words are gonna bounce around because I think that's the whole goal of at least what they're trying to do with Gemma, where they're just putting someone that's basically using them as slave labor, but like content slave labor. She's not happy,
Yeah.
she's not mad, she's just kind of content, just
Oh,
doing what she's
I don't even know
doing.
if they care. I don't know if they care that they're content. I think they just care that they're effective and they don't rebel.
Yeah, well, yeah, they don't care. If they could make them happy, or they could just make them numb, they wouldn't really care enough to make them happy. If they could, they just wouldn't really care. But yeah, their goal is to just make them docile enough to not fight back or not wake up. And I think they like succeeded with that.
Just about, yeah. Though it was interesting that Jenna uh didn't listen to them when it seemed like she was at the point where she should have been listening to whatever they told her. She actually did have possibly some sort of an emotional reaction when Mark came in and stopped her from dismantling the crib in the last episode. Like at that point, it seemed like Cold Harbor was completed. She should have been doing whatever she was told, and yet, and there were voices telling her what to do, like don't touch that man, don't believe him,
Mm.
he's, blah blah blah. But then she did anyway, and like that was interesting to me. That maybe this experiment wasn't the great success that you really hoped that it was.
Yeah, and well, I guess also too though, if that's a completely new personality, I mean, yeah, she really that's like her only world that she has is in that room. So someone barging in, I was kind of surprised that she did go so immediately because I thought she was just gonna kind of listen to the voices because she doesn't really know any better. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you're right. Like maybe she did actually see a little bit of Mark, and the severance procedure didn't work all the way.
Hmm.
I definitely want to talk about that more, but I want to jump back to that episode about Cobell. So I said I liked the episode. It did feel a little bit bleak, a little bit dry, almost a little bit boring, but I felt like it was important. But the thing that I did not like about the episode, like before, during, and after it, it felt like Harmony Cobell's progression from pro Lumen, like, true believer, to like anti Lumen, like you are like a false religion almost kind of mindset, was much too quick, and almost like not spelled out explicitly. Like she had this personal emotional experience going back to her home, finding that her like going into her dead mother's room, finding that she had died, and like it had nothing to do with Lumen. But then by the end of the episode, she was talking about how Lumen destroyed the town, but like she would have known that. Like I don't know, it just felt,
Yeah.
it felt a little bit forced, a little bit fast.
Yeah, I think yeah, I guess try to analyze why I didn't like that episode. I guess it just did feel very vague. Like even though you were getting so much background info about her, everything just seemed so vague that like I'd rather them just go way more into it or like not even reveal as much as they did. But I kind of do feel that her like side switching does make a little bit of sense too, just because of like how pushed out she was from Lumen, like losing her job, and then I think they probably were gonna either kill her or just capture her when like they invite her. I think it was Helena, Egan, and then the security guard, right?
Mr.
Yeah.
Drummond.
Yeah, Mr. Drummond. When they were gonna invite her back in, and she kind of does that, like Gus from Breaking Bad, kind of like, she kind of senses something's off, and she just
Yeah,
walks
she's
away.
like,
She's like,
I'm
"Oh,
in
no."
danger.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Yeah, certainly. I think that you're right. Her ties to Lumen were deep enough that she would have understood and been able to assess the situation accurately and been like, yeah, no, this is, I know what the policy and the procedure is at this point. Like, I'm out of the picture now.
yeah. But yeah, I guess we could go to Dylan, like you were saying. Yeah, I really like what they did with his character this season, where his Audi or his Innie was getting a little more privileges that everyone else wasn't, with him getting the visitations from his wife.
Yeah, we see that Dylan is actually quite adept. He's quite intelligent, quite good at his job, what he does, and also like good at other stuff too, right? Like, he in the end of season 1, he's like, I've got it, and then he like does the OTC by himself, which was really impressive.
So
Yeah, and in season 1, he was really the only worker that was like really excited and like prideful about the work. Irving was like really meticulous about it, but
Yep.
he was the only one that was like really excited about it. His little finger, those like the Chinese finger handcuffs
Right.
or
Well,
whatever.
it was like a contest.
Yeah,
for him.
he loved
like,
it. Yeah.
I'm the best. I'm doing the best, and I have all of these trophies to prove that I'm the best.
Yeah, and it's almost, if we're gonna be saying that this, like, I guess a level 1 level of Severance, and then Gemma being like a level 2, 3 and up, the level 1 Severance, they kind of do have maybe some bleed over, because his outside Audi is just such a like underachiever that his Innie, now that he's able to get these little goals, he just feels really accomplished compared to his Audi, and he doesn't even know that, at least consciously.
His Audi's like kind of a fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very interesting to me. Again, this is the world building that was so impressive, where Dylan, both Dylans, Dylan G and Dylan whatever his name is outside of the Audi Dylan, they both have this strong motivation to quit at Lumen, but we saw earlier in the season how Dylan the Audi got fired from Lumen and couldn't get a job anywhere. And so even though he wanted to quit because he didn't want his wife to have this romantic relationship with his Innie, and his Innie wanted to quit because he couldn't have this romantic relationship with his Audi's wife, they both wanted to quit. They were in this weird not even ethical, just practical conundrum where they couldn't quit.
And I don't think he ever told Mark or Helly that he had this privilege, like, to see his Audi's wife, right?
Yeah, I think he was kind of keeping it a secret. You never really found out why, but he didn't really let the other people know about it.
Secret, but he kept it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
for
that's
him, do you think that you can really cheat on your wife with yourself, or like the
your significant other with
Yeah.
yourself? I mean, I guess it goes back to that ethical question, or that spiritual or philosophical question of whether or not the Innie is a separate person with a separate soul. I mean, I don't know if I believe in a soul necessarily, but in the show, some people believe so. I don't know what I would say. I guess we could compare it to we could compare Severance to the Severance surgical procedure to almost a surgical I want to say MPD, multiple personality disorder, and that's not the term for it, because I have
like
a friend.
DID.
DID, yeah.
Yeah.
We could compare it to almost like a surgically induced dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah, you could.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I know people with DID, and some of them do have very strict rules where, like, I am a distinct personality. If you were to kiss me while I'm not myself, you're cheating on me. And then other people where it's a little bit more integrated or a little bit more loose, or the rules are a little bit freer, and it's like, well, it's my body, and it's fine to, to pursue me, or, it really can depend on the person. But that is such an interesting question.
Yeah, yeah. I was telling Jackie earlier do you know the thought problem, the ship of Theseus? It
I
reminds me of
love the
that.
ship of
Yeah.
Theseus.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's basically yeah. There's a ship named Theseus, and say you slowly remove wood from it, and then you replace the boards and the plank and the sails. At what point does it stop being the ship of Theseus? And
Or
then
does it ever?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
you can take it a step further. You know, if you use those wooden planks to build a smaller little ship of Theseus, is that actually the real ship now? Because that actually has
Right.
all the original parts, and you can make
Right.
a whole new ship that looks like the old ship of Theseus, but it's completely new. So yeah, and I think I was actually thinking that eventually there'd be a painting that would maybe reference it, just because of how abstract they get in the show with the symbolism. But I was thinking about that with the Dylan G stuff a lot because I do think that his Audi kind of overreacted pretty like harshly towards his wife. It definitely didn't help the case. You know, it's not gonna help his case at all.
I agree. I felt like he was pretty jealous of his inner self. Like he's like, my innie has access to these very what's the word I'm looking for? It seemed like Dylan was Audi Dylan was jealous of Innie Dylan because Innie Dylan had access to these sort of like very capable parts of himself that he found inaccessible.
Right,
And
yeah.
like, he really wanted. I almost wonder if that may end up becoming a motivation for him to reintegrate in season 3, because he wants those parts of himself that he can't seem to get, and it seems like he has an awareness that Innie Dylan has this sort of ease of confidence about him. Right, he's very confident. Like, I'm capable, I can do these things, and Audi Dylan is like, I kind of fuck everything up.
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah, it
so
definitely. Yeah, the thing that I think he was most offended about wasn't really the infidelity from the wife. It was really just what his innie was able to do and like have that he doesn't have.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. And he was worried that his wife is attracted to those things about himself that he doesn't have access to. And it's like, well,
yeah,
I'll never realize that attraction for myself. It'll always be for this other person that I don't have access to, in terms of their memories and then also their capabilities.
yeah. I mean, she clearly is because they have the same exact body, so she's attracted
Yeah,
to something that he
yeah.
doesn't have.
And then let's talk about Helly.
Yeah, she's awesome. I kind of do wish we got more of her Audi, but what happens with their innie is really interesting. Cause
I
yeah,
mean,
because the season does
for
start
some of
with
the show, we
her.
got her Audi not knowing necessarily
Yeah,
that
I
it
was
was
just
her
gonna say
Audi.
that. Yeah, because it feels like I watched um everything like episode 4 and back, like pre they go on that field trip. I feel like that was so long ago when it really wasn't. But yeah, you unknowingly got a
Mm.
lot of Helena Egan on the inside, and there's little clues that you can kind of pick up on a rewatch that I haven't
Were you
seen.
guys impressed on the rewatch with some of the subtle differences that I don't remember the actor's name who portrays Helly and Helena, but I on the rewatch, and I could kind of pick it up because I remember being like, man, it would be a real mind fuck if this was Helena, but I'm not sure. But then they confirmed it. I was like, oh wow, yeah, it's a mind fuck. This is great. But like on the rewatch, you can kind of pick up some very subtle clues and cues that like this is not. She's a little bit colder. She's a little bit more professional, or she overplays her hand a little bit. Like I felt like the laugh after Milchick read the passage and she
Yeah,
like laughed at him. I was like, that's not Helly.
yeah, because yeah, she knows. I randomly rewatched that again just because of like the crazy lore that you get about the Egan family, like how much of that is even real at all, and that's what she's laughing at, probably just
Oh yeah,
how
so true.
like how grandiose it is, and she actually knows how it is, so she just thinks it's hilarious.
It could be, but I also got the sense that she got a certain pleasure from like denying everybody else the marshmallows, right? Like for her, this is like some paltry little peasant snack because she's Helena Egan. But for all of these innies, like this is gonna be like a really, like they've never had a campfire and marshmallows before, and she gets to both secure in their mind her like position as really Helly and like anti-Lumen, and also deny them this experience, or even inflict a negative experience on them, like they have to watch all of this being destroyed without getting to participate.
Yeah, it seems like just because of how isolated she is in the outside world that she's become very like just oh yeah, just very cruel as like Irving says that when she has the chance to make someone else feel
Yeah,
small, she does, which is
that
always
was the that was the tell for him, was
yeah.
that Helly was never cruel, but you were cruel to me, and that's not something Helly would do.
Yeah. And yeah, I like how yeah, there's like kind of a debate on well not too much of a debate, but a weird gray area that people have pointed out where like did she actually rape Mark S or not? Cuz like he wasn't having sex with who he thought he was, but he was consensually having sex. But there was that little bit of um just yeah, not betrayal, but like she lied basically. So like he was consensually having sex with the body, just not the mind that he thought he really was.
I mean, it comes back down to the question that we had earlier with Dylan G, right, and his wife or his Audi's wife, right? And we call and it's interesting that we're distinguishing it, right, with his Audi's wife.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
not his wife;
that's
it's his Audi's
yeah. The
wife.
show really succeeds, and you as a viewer do think of them as two different people.
I think I would be persuaded by an argument saying that Helly raped or at the very least sexually assaulted Mark S by sleeping with him under false pretenses.
Yeah, because he just didn't have all the facts available to him
Right.
to still continue. So I mean, yeah, I'd say she definitely did for sure. But it is one thing I haven't really heard anyone else bring up that when in the Gemma episode when you kind of find out that there's another person on this like from Lumen that's individually watching every person no matter where they are, it kind of it almost like can create plot holes because now when Mark S and then Helly do have sex like as their innies for the first time and they're kind of like sneaking away to do it, those people would have been monitoring them. Or then even like in the season one finale when they do the overtime contingency and they're just like really screwing everything up for Lumen. There should have been those people on the monitors that were witnessing that happen the whole time. So unless they just didn't care if that would impact Cold Harbor or not, it seems like they should have known about it.
Yeah, it seemed to me like Lumen was just very confident in its capabilities in control. Right? Lumen seems very much about control, and I mean, it's a metaphor for how, or maybe not even a metaphor because Lumen is very religious. It's I don't know. It's definitely commenting on how religion is used as a mechanism for control. Um,
Yeah, I was just gonna say that like how yeah, especially in that the field trip they take and like the almost Bible of Egan and just like the almost mythology that they create of him, it does like kind of follow culty and like religious you know uses
I
for
mean,
controlling.
it's overtly religious. For me, it very strongly evokes like Mormonism and Scientology and but just married in this very bizarre way to like corporate culture and corporate world. It was is such an unusual blend of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing I wanted to get answered about, I guess to say the last thing about that episode 4, when they take the field trip, and you know people pointed out online that the same actor that you have to like go to the credits to find that plays Mark's kind of like stunt double like AI robot that like kind of points to where they're supposed to go. He's listed as the same actor that is like in the hallway. I think in like episode 1 of season 2 that kind of like peeks around and then kind of goes away. So I wanted to find out like what happened. Like they're in the wilderness, they see the little robot pointing and then they go to where that is and then they continue walking where it was pointing. What happened to that robot? Was it a hologram? Was it just like a little
Oh,
dummy that was standing there?
I got the impression that they were holograms, but I wasn't sure how they like achieved that technologically. I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because they had the TV set doesn't have a cable, so yeah, they could essentially have some technology that would do that. But I don't know. I just thought of them as being real, but they could have just been holographic or something like that.
Yeah, and I wish they went up there and just like tried touching it to see if
Oh
it's
yeah,
really
definitely.
there. Like, go check it out. Like,
Yeah,
who
because
are
yeah,
they?
it would cut every time they would be walking to it, so you would never know what would happen. And yeah, I want to know if they orchestrated like that dead deer that was there. It seems like they're in such a controlled environment that finding that would just
It's
it
interesting
wouldn't be
too.
an
Yeah.
accident that would happen. But then what are they trying to accomplish with that? So it could just be an accident like to some deer died or whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. The dead deer was a very interesting point. It was definitely foreshadowing on the show's writers' parts for the more ominous, um, reveal, right, about Kier seemingly killing his twin, right?
Yeah.
But the question is whether or not Lumen intended to foreshadow it for the macro data refiners, which is possible. Like Lumen does that kind of stuff too. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was really yeah, interesting. Yeah, the whole like twin kind of like parable that he tells. Like I wonder if that was real. I want to say it was. But then cuz when you first hear that, you don't really know that Cobell is almost like the mastermind, at least behind the technology. So I wonder if he just really wanted the idea of a severance to work, and then just kind of sought out Cobell in the
well,
town and then took
it
over.
seems like you're talking about Kier, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it seems like Kier was alive in like the 1800s. Like Kier predates everything, and he's just been mythologized. Um,
Oh no, I mean, who's Helly's dad?
James
Oh,
Egan.
okay, yeah, right, right. Yeah, I guess I do always get them confused because yeah, there was no way they would have been alive at the same time. But the modern version of Severance, I think definitely, like, I think the James Egan is the one that kind of put that forward.
Yeah, well, they said that Cold Harbor, the completion of Cold Harbor was going to be like one of the final steps or some final component of Kier's everlasting campaign against pain. Uh, so like, yeah, it seems like the corporation has been like working to do all of these things in the name of Kier, probably for various different ends. Like I'm sure like ending pain might be like a goal that Kier might have talked about, but like, and this is just one way in which they're like, well, we're gonna address this way. But I'm sure that it would be interesting to see, and we'll probably never get this, but like in the one episode it talks about how they have like how many hundreds of different severed floors in how many different countries, and it'd be interesting to see what other like sort of nefarious plots and nefarious technologies Lumen is working on in these other countries and these other severed floors.
Yeah, I could totally see like season 3 opening with a completely random, like sort of almost in season 2 where you get like the new people introduced. I could see them doing that, just like a totally different floor, and
Right.
like kind of subsequently throughout the series, throughout the season, going to them and seeing what they're doing.
It could make sense to follow Miss Wong to wherever she's going and see, what it's like in the new work environment that she's assigned to.
And also Irving, because he left, so we get to see him like outside in the world.
I suspect we'll probably see Irving connect with other anti-Lumen activists because we know that they exist.
Yeah.
In season 1, there's some young anti-Lumen activists who like directly confront Mark and like say some insulting stuff, and Mark like yells back at them. And then also they go to the like punk show from PD's daughter that's very anti-Lumen. So like I hope that we like see Irving connect with like this like activist cell. That would be
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, yeah, going like staying on the the outer activism. What's the name of Mark S's sister's husband, the guy that has the book?
Oh, the weird guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because he was pretty anti-Lumen, but then kind of when he gets a book deal and he's gonna find out that he can put that in the Severance world, then he's
Right.
like, hey, maybe there's something to it.
flipped
Yeah,
so quickly.
so
Rickon.
He
fast.
folded
His name's
like wet
Rickon.
cardboard. Rickon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rickon. Yeah, what is his book like? The You Who You Are, something like that.
Yeah. The UUR. I don't.
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
it.
He just flips sides like so fast. He's like, well, hey, let's hear him out.
If we can get my ideas down to these people, and she's like, but these aren't your ideas. These are Lumen's ideas.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, to be a little bit fair to him though, yeah, like I guess if the littlest thing you can do is just get a little bit of your own ideas down there to try to help them, yeah, that's something. But he seemed just more excited about just the publicity, and it was just so funny just how like the dinner party, how he was like almost like a cult leader and like taken so seriously. And he had like after each chapter he's like, okay, now 15 minutes of like silent reflection about the to have the wisdom that I just spoke, like, be able to sink in. Like, he just takes himself so seriously.
Yeah.
But everyone else
They
did
were
too.
talking about that on the Severance podcast, where he like had a tickle in his throat, and if you remember, he had like that like humming kind of voice. He's like, you are,
Yeah.
and then he's like, what's his name? Balt, get the neti pot, because he had to clear his sinuses so he could speak better.
There's so many fan theories. Some are really good, but one of the kind of dumb ones is that they were saying that he was a goat because of that little like sheepish laugh that he does. They're like, oh, you might be like a goat or something like that, or integrated as a
I sound like a sad hamburger waiter.
Yeah, like it would be cool if you could, sever yourself as an animal, like if they do start doing that, 'cause they might have started on animals and then worked their way up to humans.
Oh my
But
God, that's wild.
yeah, like maybe that's what the goats, another purpose for the goats were, just besides sacrifice. They could have been severing them, but a goat's mind isn't as diverse as a human mind for sure.
Mm-hmm.
One of the pieces of I think it was the finale or the episode just before the finale, where Mark S and Mark Scout have the conversation at the birthing center with the camcorder going back and forth in and out of the cabin.
Yeah, that was
I thought
the finale. Yeah,
I thought that was really interesting, but I was also frustrated with the pace of it. Like, they took their time to like move the camera, and like, we're gonna actually turn the camera on and turn it around, and now I'm gonna talk, and then we're gonna like, and it felt very like laborious, and it could have just been these cuts between screens. And like, I'm complaining about it, right? Because it was like, I didn't like sitting through it, but I, again, this is the immersive world building, and like, at the same time, I very much appreciated it, because I got a sense of the actual frustration that you would have to go through. Like, it is not easy now to communicate with myself in these two spaces. I have to actually do this labor to sit down, take a recording of myself, stand up, walk out of the room, realize I have a camera in my hand, turn it around, rewind it, play it, respond, go back in, and so like, it was annoying to watch, in the sense that like, we could have made this faster just for the expedience of the story, but on the other hand, like, no, we want to pace this out and make you sort of get it, like, this is how it is for these characters.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I really actually appreciated that time, just because I guess I was just anticipating and kind of thinking about what the next reply would be. And I kind of liked having that second of, seeing, like, thinking about what the person, the innie rowdy, how they meant whatever they were going to say, and then how the other person would be interpreting it. So I kind of appreciated those little pauses.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I actually liked it how they did it. Like, I liked how, like, the whole setup where you see them turning on the camera, thinking about it, and then as the conversation goes on, like, it goes faster and faster. But you start slow, and they have to like walk out the door and then go back in. So you see that at first, but then it goes faster. So I actually liked it.
Yeah.
I appreciated the build up to the end, where they sort of come to the conclusion that, we're just not going to see eye to eye on this. and then you don't know how it's going to play out when he goes back to work. He's like, I want to go back to work. The next time I wake up better be on the severed floor. And you're just like, what is he going to do now?
Yeah. It's so perfect, because they both make such good points, but I think Mark S, the Audi, he does kind of pretty early on in the back and forth kind of start to get a little bit what's the word, just I guess manipulative. He's kind of like, no, I totally care about you, and like, just the way he's saying that is just, the actor, like Adam Scott, is just so good that if he's saying it that way, it's the character saying it that way. So I like that you're kind of seeing that side of him, where he's kind of manipulating, and yeah, like, then the innie Mark, he kind of like stood up for himself a little bit. I thought he might roll over a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Because everything's just so new to him. Because he's only like 2 years old, in a way,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like how he called him out when he, I guess it was at the end when he's just like, nah, I don't. That's not gonna happen. Like, that's if you're telling the truth about everything. If I'm gonna take it all at face value, and yeah, he just kind of says no. And I think that Audi Mark kind of got mad at him for calling him out on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, it felt a lot like what do I want to say? It felt kind of um, like mansplaining or white splaining, or I guess you know, the experience where someone with privilege who wants to sound like they're doing the right thing is going to explain to you all of the things that they're going to do for you, and you listen to it and you're like, you really sound like you're doing a great thing, like you believe it, but you have no idea what my experience in my life is. Everything that you're trying to offer me as this good thing, I don't want that. And I thought that that was a pretty profound a pretty profound moment and an exploration in the show. Also, I would like to see more of that, frankly, where there is a little bit more direct interaction between innies and outies, where the outies greatly misjudge the things that the innies actually value and start promising them all of these things, and the innies are like, I don't want any of that. We have no deal
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, because it is interesting yeah, I think it's probably because I'm an antinatalist, so like I think it's kind of unethical to create an Audi or create an innie in the first place. But then like after it's already been created, there is kind of an ethical obligation to treat them as well as you can. So,
Right.
but yeah, and like with the reintegration, it is interesting that if they really did reintegrate, yeah, the Audi Mark would just have like, it would be like 80-20%. Like it would be mostly him with some memories of Gemma kind of like fleeting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
that's a
they're,
great question too. Do they have a right to stay severed? What if they disagree? What if, I mean, and you know, they did disagree. Like,
yeah.
so like, is reintegration really the best possible thing? Also, like, what's going to happen if they do reintegrate fully and Mark S and Mark Scout become one person? Because they've already begun the process. Is it sort of inevitable that they do achieve this sort of unified thing?
Yeah, because now that the
What is that going to
process
look
has
like?
started, I don't know if it's gonna stop unless Audi Mark like purposely goes to the doctor to try to stop it.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah,
Gets the chip put back in or whatever.
but yeah, like best case scenario of somehow Helly being her innie on the outside and Mark being reintegrated and having Gem on the outside, he's still gonna be having to live like this double life, like because both of them are monogamous with their wives or well
Oh, we don't
girlfriends.
know that.
So well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Mark would Audi Mark. I don't think he would want to share Gemma with his innie.
He Yeah, Audi Mark does seem pretty monogamous, pretty devoted to Gemma. Any Mark, I guess then we could raise the question of whether monogamy and polyamory are inherent to a person or if they're learned from society. So that's a question. You know, any Mark might not have the same societal hangups that Audi Mark might have about the idea of dating multiple people. So
Right. Yeah. If it was introduced to him, yeah, because again, he's like only a few years old. If it was kind of like normal,
right.
like, and that's one thing that
Well,
is interesting that they don't really ever, aside from that one time, no one is really like hooking up in the office that much, just
right.
because.
Well, twice, right? Like Bert and Irving,
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
yeah, I get,
Elliot.
yeah, a little bit, yeah, but yeah, they're not very.
You could have had unprotected sex.
They're not very. Yeah, they're not very sexual yet. And yeah, there's a lot of things they don't know. Like I really like when they talk about the outside world, like they don't know what the sky looks like,
Oh yeah.
or they don't know, like is it like all the states and stuff, and like they're naming like Delaware or whatever. Like there's just
Yeah.
like really basic things they don't know, but you just have like a basic understanding that there is an outside world. It's like Plato's cave almost.
Or like Irving when he was like driving outside. That was his first time driving. His
Oh,
innie.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, like yeah, and there, yeah, like so your motor functions, are they still there? Like yeah, do you really need to learn how to like brush your teeth when you're in any, or is that just like something that kind of comes naturally?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does seem like the Innie does retain like many of the skills of the Audi, like you know, knowing how to maybe like tie a shoe or like you know dress oneself, right? Like knowing how to
Right.
go to the bathroom and wash their hands and stuff like that. Like all of those sort of like everyday things seem to be retained.
I would love to
So
see like a montage of Lumen going through a process where where they're testing out different levels of severance where that's not the case, where they'll just literally recreate like a baby in their body, and they kind of have to tweak the settings a little bit, and they do like almost like Poor Things, the movie, if anyone knows that one, where there's like the different levels to like how they got to where they are now, because there obviously has to be so many just failed integrations of Severance before now, like you can't get it on the first try.
Yeah. No, definitely. How late do we want to record here? Because before we finish, I really want to talk about choreography and merriment.
I think we're good. We're only like an hour in. We can go like another 30 minutes or something minimum. Would be cool.
Well, let's talk about choreography and merriment then, because I love choreography and merriment.
Oh yeah.
They were that scene at the end where Mark S completes Cold Harbor and Milchick gives this like, it's supposed to be like a roast of Milchick from Kier, this wax Kier, and Milchick is like unprepared for it. He like gives Kier shit because it's after he tells Drummond to eat shit. It was great.
Oh yeah, devour feculence. Yeah,
devour feculence. It's interesting how we've seen these two very loyal Lumen employees sort of break ranks, right, between Cobell and Milchick. We should actually probably talk about Milchick too, but let's do merriment and cheer first. So he completes Cold Harbor, and they do this roast as like an experience, and then he brings in merriment and choreography and merriment, and it's just like, holy shit, does Lumen actually like have a call for these people enough that they have a whole division that just does this all the time?
That's the thing. Yeah,
like,
they have all these severed employees where it's almost like how Miss Casey's job was in season 1, where she's only been awake for like 20 minutes every week or whenever like it's needed. Like they have all these 30-40 band members that probably just go into Lumen to practice, rehearse a little bit. So like the Audis are probably all working like part-time or something like that. But
I was thinking too, like how funny would it be if like, or how like wild would it be if like you go in and like they teach you to be on choreography and merriment. So like you go in not knowing any instruments, you go in not knowing how to do all of these like choreography routines, and then like you're just out and about one day, and like that seems like it's like just a routine skill that you would have. And I wonder if that's one of the things that would translate. Like, I didn't know I could play the trumpet, but here I go.
Yeah, like if your Audi gets drunk and just is doing whatever, like some random skill. Yeah, he's like, man, I don't know how I know how to play the piano so good, but he's like,
just like breaks out this like marching band routine.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you know how to do it? It's like, I don't know. I work in an office. Like,
yeah, and how much of like Milchick's job qualifications is that he's such a good dancer? Because he has to be.
Such a good dancer.
He's so like way better than he has the right to be. Like, he's so good.
He's danced so much in the show, right? He did it during the Defiant Jazz episode.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, Milchick can kind of get down a little bit.
Yeah. I saw some people saying that they thought the marching band one in season 2 was like a little bit of just like a rehash, kind of like reimagining of the season 1 one, which I guess it was, but to me it was just like totally earned. Like they could do that every season and just go like way more over the top, like more and more.
It was so frenetic. It was brilliant. But I mean, so was Defiant Jazz. That was also frenetic. And it was also, I think it was also at a similar point in the season, right? Wasn't it right at the end of the season?
I think it was a little earlier in season 1, because that's like when Dylan just learns he has a kid and then he attacks him. So there's like a little more time, but it is towards like the latter half of the season, yeah.
Which is kind of funny, but yeah, no, I would watch a whole season of Severance that was literally just episode after episode of nothing but merriment, going around to all the different departments wherever they have to do their choreography and merriment. I don't care who's getting whatever, like I will watch that.
It would be cool to see the other departments again. I forget in season 1 the people that where Christopher Walken's character works in, you don't ever see them again.
Archives?
Yeah.
Archives or something?
Do you see them again in season 2? If you do, it's very brief, right?
Who's the doctor who was the one experimenting on Gemma? You know who I'm talking about. He had a name.
Yeah.
he opens the episode whistling that song and wheeling in the cart, and he picks up all those dentistry tools from Irving B's, or not Irving's, Bert G's department.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that doctor was interesting. And I kind of felt like in those scenes with Gemma, just how she's like dressed so differently. It's almost like, yeah, it just feels like, I don't know, kind of like naughty. Like, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but like just how he was just like looking at her and like making her do all this dress up. And like, it kind of just seemed like he was kind of getting off on
It
just
was
making
kind
her.
of fetishistic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's creepy.
for sure. The like it was bizarre and interesting and like torturous to imagine all the different rooms that she's been in and how like the I forget what the names of the rooms were, but the Christmas room just seemed awful. Like if she reintegrates, she's gonna have god awful trauma about Christmas forever. Like
Damn, that
she will
is
never
so true.
be able to celebrate Christmas happily, no matter who it's with.
Yeah. But yeah, and just like, it seemed like he was, I don't know, yeah, like maybe not, like he was, yeah, like he was kind of not doing exactly what Lumen wanted, like he was, but it seemed like he kind of had like his own motives, or at least that he was just getting off on just like the power trip of it. Because, yeah, like imagine
Yeah,
you can just kind of, in a Jeffrey Dahmer way, you could create a sex zombie that would totally not fight back and like totally be into it. Then you could sever them and have them do whatever. You could just
yeah.
kind of, yeah, he kind of has the power just to do whatever with her, and so it's kind of
It
scary.
seemed like Lumen definitely sort of had their eyes on the situation because they had that little side conversation with him where they were like, and talking about how maybe he was in love with her and she was in love with him, and then like, and you're gonna have to let her go, right? And he was like, yeah, I know. So that was kind of interesting. Like Lumen was like,
Yeah, and
don't get too attached.
when
So
she
they
gets into
knew.
the elevator, that's like the last thing he says to her, that you're gonna kill them all. So he's just so attached to, yeah, like what he's done, and like just kind of proud of his work. That's like the final thing that he says.
Um, I want to point out an interaction that I found pretty interesting. It was a pretty minor interaction, but there was the scene where they were at the Lumen function, and actually, I'm harkening back to season 1 now. This isn't season 2. They were it was the season finale of season 1, and Helly is on overtime contingency in Helena's body about to give the speech.
Right, yeah.
And she's going around with Natalie, and they get in the elevator to head up to the thing, and they actually get in the elevator with the woman who is from the birthing center.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you remember that. And it's very interesting to me. She seems to know who Natalie is, but like Natalie has to introduce Helena. Almost like Helena is not that much of a big deal. And that almost foreshadows a little bit how James seems to really dislike Helena, because later on in season 2 he's like, I don't love my daughter. At one time I saw the fire of Kieran in her, but I don't see that anymore, but I see it in you.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's almost like written her off and is kind of just like using her as me, almost in like a degrading way too, right? Like it's like, well, I'm gonna make you a severed employee. You get to go down and do this work with these animals, right? That's what she calls the innies. They're animals. Well, you get to go do that. And it's just like,
Yeah, that's such a
damn.
good point.
Yeah, it seems like, yeah, the status she has on the outside is just based on the family name. She doesn't seem like she's really super involved or
Or
it's
known
considered
or liked.
important, yeah, to everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she kind of would have just thought it was fun, like going in, well, like not being severed, but when she like went in incognito style, it seemed like she was just getting like a little
Sure.
bit of freedom, especially because like it seems like on the outside she's almost just kind of like imprisoned by her father eating one
A
egg.
different kind of a prison. It's interesting, right? Helena runs the company and imprisons Helly and all of the other innies. And in some senses, she's more imprisoned than Helly is, and Helly is much freer than Helena is.
Yeah. Yeah, back to how cruel she is. It was this, yeah, the only clip you get of her in like the first half of season 1 is after her Innie tries to kill herself, and then she does the video, and she's like, "Yeah, you're not even a human. You're just like, yeah." I forget exactly what she says, but just essentially,
I'm a person and you're not.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's just like that, like I was saying earlier, just like that continuing trauma. Like she's in a position now where she's able to inflict the same kind of like trauma or like control that her father has on her. And yeah, and then instead of understanding that and not wanting to do it to someone else, she's just cruel and she just takes advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it definitely. I guess the question is how intrinsic is the cruelty to Helly and how environmental is it, right? It definitely seems like she had cruelty, like instilled in her by her family. Remember her father talked about how he made her like list off all of the different I forget what they were. The Lumen core values before bedtime. I think she said it in a recording at the end of season in the finale of season 1 actually.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, like she's lived this luxurious, absolutely hellish life. Like this has not been a good life, but it's been very luxurious. Like you've enjoyed all of the fine things, but you don't really have a good life.
Yeah, it's kind of like reminiscent of those like older like medieval time shows where like the princess is kind of held captive by like the being married off by her father, and she's living this rich lifestyle, but she's like imprisoned and she just wants to kind of be free. It's kind of like reminiscence of that kind of like stereotype.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, and they even draw that out pretty explicitly when Milchick gives his whole bit about what does he call it, the Glockenstuber or whatever it is, the Swedish king who goes around in the peasant's garb.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, we didn't really talk about Milchick other than his dancing too much, but I really like the character development you get with him.
Yes, we
Like
should
him
talk
versus
about him for
Lumen.
sure.
Yeah, where to start? Like, yeah, just with the new Miss Wong that's introduced, that just raises a whole other situation of like, I guess they can legally sever kids, or Lumen is just somehow out of legality able to
Well,
do
Miss
that.
Wong is not severed.
I don't know. I think, yeah, I guess I made that assumption. I think she is, and I don't know why
She's
I said that so
she's not.
fast. I think she is just
Yeah.
because I don't know. I just don't see how she could have an Audi that
She's
would.
the same Miss Wong when she's outside the building getting on the bus.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's just like Milchick. She's being trained and groomed to be a severed floor manager, just like Milchick and Cobell were. I mean, but like it's the same thing that happened with Harmony, right? Harmony was uh offhandedly a child laborer in Lumen's factory's pre-severance procedure. So we know that Lumen has no issues and somehow has some kind of legal framework to work with child laborers. And it's pretty apparent that Miss Wong is the current generation of that legacy with Lumen. Or at least to me. Like I suppose it I'm saying all of this very authoritatively. I could be completely wrong, and she might be severed. I don't know for
Well,
sure.
now that you're making me think about it, like, yeah, maybe I misspoke by saying severed rather than just an employee at Lumen that's like, I guess, enabled to have the authority that she has. But I don't know. Yeah, like, just something seems that's like a little bit robotic with her, which is the whole point of it. And like
Well,
Milchick early on seemed very robotic, and he's probably not severed. But
who
I don't know. Something just feels kind of off with her to me.
we keep on forgetting who the doctor is that did the reintegration procedure with PD and Mark, whatever her name is. She talked about how Harmony grew up with Lumen and was one of their soldiers, right?
Right.
And was basically raised by Lumen. And it was my impression that that's essentially what Miss Wong is experiencing right now.
Yeah,
That could be the case, yeah. And there could be a wherever. I don't think she's foreign. I think she's probably somewhere from like close by wherever they are. But there could be like another town close to. What town are they in? What town are they actually in? Do they say the name? But there could be another town that's like Cobell's that's just kind of like that Lumen sucked the resources out of that she's from. That could also be the case.
Yeah, we could see that town later on.
Could be, but it also seems like they have no problem moving around. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that she's been in the care or in the employ. I don't know exactly how you would word it, of Lumen at various different sites, because Milchick just kind of ships her off with no problem. And it seems like, you know, she's getting this promotion, but like this is not the first time it happened.
That's true. And do you think that his like kind of wanting to make life more pleasurable for the innies after he takes over for Cabell, do you think that was authentic, or do you think it wasn't? Because I think he was really trying to make things a little bit better for everybody. Like that the field trip
That's
was,
a great
I think he had
question.
good intentions with the field trip. But
I so I think Milchick is genuinely, I think he genuinely does actually care about them. My question about Milchick is he in the same, is he from the same stock as Harmony and Miss Wong, where he was this child laborer groomed and molded by Lumen, and so he believes that some of these perks are really this great thing. I mean, remember how Miss Wong was attached to her little like ring toss game, and like it was this great sacrifice to have to give it up. And so if that's how she grew up, that's how Harmony grew up, if that's how Milchick grew up, and he's like, I'm going to give them the best perks ever, like this field trip. I'm going to give them unlimited tokens for the food, you know, all of these different reforms. It may be more, it does seem to me that it's more than a token effort on his part. He seems to genuinely believe that these things are really positive for the severed employees, which I mean, to some extent they are, right? Like the severed employees are happy with Chinese fucking finger traps. Like, wow, this is an experience. I've never had this before. So yeah, I don't know. But then you also do see him like dehumanizing them in other ways, where in the season finale when he's sawing the belt to get into the OTC room to get Dylan off of it, he's like, you know, there are perks you don't even know about, man. I could get you coffee koozies. I could get you some coffee koozies right now. And it's just like, you're offering this guy a fucking coffee koozie right now? Like, what?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be curious if everyone has to be kind of like raised to get to be able to have like run a severed floor, if they have to have like that almost lifelong commitment to the company, or if it's somehow possible to just like apply for that job on the outside somehow and then go in. I wonder what the qualifications are.
What else was very interesting? It's interesting seeing, and again, this is that immersive world building that we love so much. When Dylan's trying to get a job and he goes to the door factory and the guy is so mistrustful, almost superstitious about severed people. That was really interesting. So it seems like for some people there's this real deep mistrust of Lumen and everything that it stands for.
Yeah, I wish we got more time in the outside world, not with one of the main characters, just seeing how Lumen is like perceived from just the community's perspective, or just like the world's perspective, just how they, and like like the impact they've had, because that was one of the few scenes we really have completely like in the outside world with Dylan, where he's applying to the door company, and just being severed and having that on your resume is just you're almost like unhireable anywhere, it seems.
Yeah, it definitely does seem that way, or at least in some places.
I mean, that was the only place he ever went to. It could have just been the person, but I think if I don't know, I think by only showing one location, they were kind of just showing that this is how it is for most locations. But he could have gone to a McDonald's and been able to apply. Who knows?
Yeah, well, you know, in that world, McDonald's is probably owned by Lumen, so.
Yeah, probably.
Lumen McDonald's.
Lumen McDonald's.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Mark's friend Pete from season 1. So you know how he's like throwing up a lot and blood coming out and all that, and he dies, right?
Yeah.
Is that gonna happen to Mark? Like, is that gonna continue happening on season 3?
Well, I think the doctor, whose name we always forget, I think
It's
she's probably
possible,
refined it since she tried it on PD.
Yeah, like that's something to worry about. Like something could be happening to Mark, and in season 3. throwing up, bleeding.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and that's like an interesting thing about like going back to like Mark's conversation with himself. And like yeah, like when Cabell ends up saying that basically after Cold Harbor is complete, that's like the end of you being an innie. He really the only other choice is basically to almost just die anyways because they're gonna his he only exists inside of Lumen,
Mm-hmm.
so he really relies on that company having a use for him. So if Cold Harbor's done, he's might just die
Well,
anyways.
right. He kicked Gemma out and like locked her out and stayed in there with Helly at the end of the episode. But if we're talking specifically about the physical effects of reintegration, that was interesting, right? I think in season 1, if I remember correctly, PD left because he was sick, so he must have been experiencing physical effects on the severed floor. And then we saw that repeat with Mark because he got a nosebleed on the severed floor.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and that makes sense too, right? It's a physiological thing. It's not something you can switch on and off by being on the floor. Um, I do have a question about that whole process, though, right? Because um, Mark Scout did have the chip physically removed from his brain, right? She pulled it out, right?
I want to say yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I feel like I remember that, and so there's no like technological mechanism to trigger the severance experience or thing or whatever, the severance process of the surgery itself. So I don't know exactly what you call it, but the severance, right? Going down on the severed floor. And yet it seems that when Mark Scout goes to work and takes the elevator down, he does sever,
Yeah.
and Mark S is present.
Yeah, or yeah, like the cabin scene when he's just walking inside and outside. It's,
Right, but he has no chip.
I know.
Yeah.
So how does it
is
work?
that happening?
I hope we're not wrong and that the chip just isn't in him, but I'm pretty sure they did remove it because I remember seeing like that kind of X-ray thing
Mm-hmm.
of them taking it out. So maybe, yeah,
Unless she faked it.
she could have, yeah, because I don't know either to us as the audience or if there was a monitor that he could see, which I don't know if that there was a monitor. She could have faked it just so that he thought it was out. But also, I guess just whatever, just like electromagnetic whatever like effect that the that it has on that it has on your mind.
That's
your
more
brain
what we
could
saw,
just be
right?
mimicking
Those like electromagnetic, like, I don't know what you call them, discs that she
Yeah.
had floating in front of his head. That's more what we saw as the reintegration process.
Yeah. So whatever, because we don't know how like the magical elevator thing works. So whatever, radio signal or whatever it is that it emits, your brain could just in like a, in like a, yeah, it could just.
Sure, it could be like a sound, like a hypersonic sound that triggers a response in the brain or something like that.
Yeah, I was trying.
Which,
yeah.
I mean, that brings up a question of like, is the chip even necessary? Does it trigger some kind of a physiological change in the brain where, even removing the chip doesn't fully. But then PD did reintegrate. Oh, here's a point too. In season 1, after PD reintegrated, Harmony went to his funeral and pulled the chip out of his head after he died, because that's how she got the data to prove that he had reintegrated.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a pretty big plot point. That it feels like that was so fast because we don't really know what she did with it after she got it, do we?
She gave it to the security guard guy who ended up getting killed by the doctor later on. And Mark is like, "Holy shit! What the fuck? You can't just kill somebody."
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess we don't know what he did with it.
She goes hard.
Yeah.
It would be. It would not surprise me if she was the kind of person that Irving hangs out with outside of work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. I guess we've gone through pretty much all the main characters.
I mean, I guess we could talk about his sister, but I don't think she's a main character.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of fan theories with them if they're severed or if they're part of Lumen. I think if anyone would be, it would probably be what's the husband's name? Kirk? Rickon. Yeah, someone with a K, I remember. Yeah, you could make an argument for that, I guess, but I don't know. A lot of the fan theories are just making up kind of just more like drama out of nothing, I think.
Yeah.
Well, one good one was that Gemma might get pregnant, and I think that's pretty likely. And I always, yeah, because I always say that in movies, you know, like they never wear condoms, or right after they have sex, they just like roll over and go to bed. You know, they don't like wash off any of the juices or anything that's just sitting
Who
there.
doesn't do that? You gotta
Yeah.
go up and take a piss after you have sex.
Yeah, like
at
especially as
least.
a woman, yeah. But yeah, you just have all these. It depends on how good you're doing it, I guess. But you should have some fluids there that you don't want to just sit in the whole
Definitely.
night. So for how analytical they do things with the rest of the show, I think it would be a little bit of an oversight if yeah he's had sex with her twice, and yeah there's not something. I mean maybe she's just on birth control or something, but they're not wearing condoms for sure.
It's a great question. Also, like, what was Helena's motive in doing that? Was it just cruelty, or was that part of Cold Harbor? Was she trying to get pregnant? Like,
In
what did
her,
she want out of sleeping with Mark S?
I think just some of the like just the taste of freedom, like we were saying. Like I think a part of her is just kind of jealous of her innie, and yeah, I mean yeah, and
Oh,
maybe
I
to be cruel to her, just like to sleep with her before she could, even though she wouldn't know how far their relationship's gone unless she has access to the cameras, which she might.
yeah,
But
yeah. I guess that's another thing too. Like, she might not actually have a full picture of Helly and Mark's relationship, and she might believe that they're already sleeping together.
yeah, their
I don't know.
conversation that Helena has with Audi Mark, like as both of their Audis, was really interesting in the diner. It was so quick though. I wish it kind of manifested into more, but she seemed to just kind of be toying with him a little bit because yeah, like Audi Mark is just kind of so much in the blind, even though he's being reintegrated and she might not know that. It just seems like she has the upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was cheating a little bit and listening to the Severance podcast. Um, they were talking. They were talking about how Helena in season one told Helly that I, Helena, am a person. You, Helly, are not a person. And then in season two, through her experiences, pretending to be Helly, and then seeing the relationship that Helly has with Mark, and how James responds differently to Helly and Helena, realizes that no, Helly is actually the real person, and I am this sort of like corporate bot, not a real person, shell of a person, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and yeah, with Mark's cabin conversation, one interesting thing was that was kind of unfair where any Mark is like, okay, yeah, now you're asking for help. You didn't really seem to care when he like misnames Helly. I think he calls it like Helene or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like to be fair to Audi Mark, you really don't have that much access to your innie, but the innie doesn't really know that necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't really know anything about him. So yeah, to give some points to Audi Mark, even though he's being manipulative, it really wasn't his fault that he doesn't have that much information about the life. Because I do think that he does mostly think that his innie is a little bit like a bad life. That it's kind of like a bad thing that he did. I think he kind of regrets being severed, but he kind of, you know, wanted to do that just to deal with his wife. But I think he kind of feels a little bit guilty about it. But
I
it,
think for sure.
but yeah, and that's why it's so interesting. His innie Mark, like, kind of knows that and knows that he just has like not even like half of a life, but he still wants that.
Yeah, Helena, not Helena, Helly got up and said, they give us half of a life and expect that we won't fight for it. And that was a
Yeah,
Yeah.
really powerful and profound, um, turning point. Not even a turning point, just moment in the show.
yeah, I like that for sure. Cause yeah, I don't know. I try to put myself in their situation, and for me, I definitely probably try to kill myself like as fast as Helly did because
Oh man.
when she yeah like when she goes into the elevator like okay I'm done for the workday time to go home, and then you're immediately at work again like yeah if you're starting that out and like you're like your mind's just racing knowing that that's what your whole life is gonna be.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
that's yeah.
show up to that point was really giving me no exit vibes. Um, because we're starting the show and we're on this roller coaster and we're like, oh my god, like this person never sleeps. Essentially, they just their whole existence is punching in, punching out, and then immediately punching back in again. They never sleep. They never do anything else. They're just always at work. That's hell. And then as the show develops, it's like, yes, it is hell, and these people, it is their lives, and like having a life is important to them, and they make it work in these unusual ways. And like it's not for us to judge what isn't a good life. If they can make it good, they have a right to.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just like, I guess just stating the obvious, but yeah, what is so interesting about the show is just, yeah, that idea of that, yeah, if they want to live, like what obligation do you have to let them? And that if you were the one that created them and they don't have, full autonomy of their life anyways, if you just kind of killed them and they wouldn't know about it. And they wouldn't, and that's the thing too, if you killed like all of everyone that was severed, I don't really think you'd be doing any harm because there'd be no one to miss who they are. But if you only kill or, just remove one of them, and then there's still the innies that are having the experience of like not having them, then you're still doing something bad. But yeah, the really interesting question is like, if you are an outie and you're going to unsever yourself, like, are you harming the innie by not letting them continue to exist is like just a really interesting question.
Well, I mean, is it murder?
Yeah, I mean, and I think the show would make you kind of say yeah, and I think the show would, for me, I guess I would say like yes. I guess it's more taking a step further is whether that murder would be, truly unethical, or like how unethical it would be, especially if, like they say, he only has, like 20 or like 5% of the lived experience as the person who chose to get the severed process done to them.
It is a question too, right? Like if they just leave the severed floor and they never go back, are they really murdering the person, or are they just not like waking them up? I guess it's more akin to putting someone into a coma that you could wake them up from if you wanted to.
Right, yeah, because once and up until the innie gets reawoken, they don't really know that they're dead. So
right,
it's
a continuous experience for them.
So maybe I'm gonna flip flop and say like it might not be murder. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but it might not be in the same way. But I guess if you really murder like a regular just person, they technically don't know they're dead anyways. So you can make that argument just for killing a normal person. So yeah, never mind.
Yeah, I want to say
I think these are the kinds of questions that the show wants you to ask, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once you're severed, you're responsible for your innie. So, you have to try to make them alive. So for season 3, hopefully, somehow they can create a life.
How does that work for Gemma and Miss Casey, right? Like, she's got so many innies, and most of them, their entire experiences are based on trauma, and they're probably only like a week or a month old. And it's just like a pure month of trauma.
I know, that's so crazy.
Does she have a responsibility to keep them alive? Or does she have a responsibility to try to reintegrate those? Or does she have a responsibility to like let those personalities and innies like just kind of lie dormant and not experience that trauma anymore by not coming to the surface?
Yeah, that's really interesting when they barely have. Yeah, because it's already interesting for an innie who has, like, a little bit of your life. But for one where, their whole existence is just going to the dentist, it's pretty easy to just say, just kill them. They're not gonna, especially if that's their only existence, they don't know what they're missing at all. Or does that innie
have a right to like go and like experience the park or something like that?
Right.
Like, do they have a right to some nice thing? Eating a cheesecake?
Yeah, you could ask them, hey, do you want to leave the dentist room or you want to go somewhere else?
Yeah.
But then she has 25, people she has to ask.
Yeah. So then, for the actual, like, just real Gemma, just what obligation does she have to sacrifice? There's not even 24, like, there's only 24 hours in a day, so she's only going to be herself, like, 45 minutes of every day. Like, does she have an obligation to sacrifice her life just because she had this process happen to her? I would probably say no for that, just because of how just small and kind of just like only cruel the lives are of those innies. I wouldn't think that killing them or just putting them in the ether is as wrong as it would be to do to like, the main characters one, just because they don't have any more experience or memories, or just like any experience. And yeah, compared to everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah, for Gemma it's different because she was forced to sever like that many times. Everybody else is just
Mm-hmm.
once. So yeah, her
Mm-hmm.
situation is very different.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But the any also doesn't have like, and that's the whole like anti-natalism thing. Like you can't choose to become like to be brought into existence. Like only after you're already born, then you can have a say. So yeah, even the
Right.
innies, they can't really choose whether of to have themselves brought in. Only the Audi can do that.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What a good show with so many interesting ethical facets to examine. I'm just really impressed. Who would have thought that Ben Stiller would give us a show
That's what
like
I keep
this?
saying. That is what I keep saying.
yeah,
But you get little tastes of Stiller too, like Rickon's book
Yeah.
and his reading. It's like, oh my god, I could. This is right out of Zoolander.
yeah, yeah. Ben Stiller. I think of him now like the same way I think of like Seth Rogen, because yeah, Seth Rogen,
Okay.
he's still
Oh,
known as
right,
like
right.
the stoner guy. But if you look at his IMDb, he's been like the showrunner and creator of like The Boys, of like Preacher, of yeah, his new show on Apple TV, The Studio. He's really doing like really good
I've
stuff.
been watching
but
that.
he's kind of been just known as the stoner guy. So yeah, Ben Stiller. I mean, yeah, like Tropic Thunder is his main thing, but he did like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Like one other thing I can't think of off the top of my head. So yeah, he's almost like rebranded himself in a way. But I guess yeah, unless do you have any other final thoughts on Severance?
Yes. Do you guys want one more season of Severance or like I don't know 5, 6 more seasons?
Not 5 or 6. I think that any show that's remembered as good wraps up in 4 to 6 seasons. I would be happy with 2 more seasons of Severance, maybe 3 if they felt it was necessary, but I think that they could tell the whole story that they want to tell in 2 more seasons.
Because yeah, an easy example is like Game of Thrones or something like that. That yeah, like just the longer the show goes on for, you have more time with the characters, so it should always be getting better and better. But at some point, you just have to drag out some storylines, and yeah, that's something that this show cannot do at all. Like I think, yeah, between episodes like 5 and 8 or like 9 this season, I felt like it was really dragging in a bad way. There was a lot of like little like scenes or moments that were good, but they really just took a long time to just answer any questions. So if they'd keep doing that over and over, yeah, I would only really like probably like 2 more seasons, and I'd probably be fine with that.
Yeah.
How many more seasons do you want?
Do you want 5 or 6?
I'm gonna say like no, I'm just kidding. Not two more probably.
So I'll throw a caveat on that. I only want another two or 3, maybe 4 seasons of this show of Severance. But I would love spin-off shows that explore the rest of the world of Lumen, because it does feel like they've set up such a really rich, deep world that has a lot of unexplored lore that could be approached from different angles. And I would love to see other aspects. I'd love to see like pre-Severance Lumen world.
Oh man, that would be so cool.
Yeah, that would
That
be
would
really
be really
cool.
interesting.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that idea because I was thinking of just shows that really like stayed their welcome, like Breaking Bad, and then how like they had the spinoff with Better Call Saul that was as good or better. You could probably have a show, yeah, like in the Severance world where, yeah, it could be from the perspective of like just the lives of people who are like married to people that are severed, but from their outside perspective. A whole season of just that might not be that interesting, but that could be like a main character. But
Or
there's
like a whole show that's just like about an anti-Lumen activist group that's
yeah.
working against them. Or like I would love to see a show that's like the rise of Lumen, the life of Kier,
Yeah.
set in the 1800s with like this weird
Yeah, seriously.
culty corporate leader who births this giant mega corporation church thing.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool because yeah, he's just so grandiose with the statues and the like almost rituals of just how things are structured. Yeah.
Not even almost rituals, right? They were gonna fucking sacrifice a goat to him
Yeah,
at the
I
end of the
know.
show. Like that's ritual as fuck.
No, that's true. And I guess one thing I wonder if they're gonna make anything more of the goats, because they were almost like a throwaway, like, oh, that's a weird room, and then they kind of made something of it. But then they're just goats that you sacrifice, and also like they didn't even sacrifice it in like, a pentagram with everyone witnessing. Like they were just gonna kill the goat in the room, and
Well, it
then
was in some kind of weird like body chamber thing. Like they put it in like a little like plastic case thing.
yeah,
Remember?
yeah, it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't like
Yeah,
ritualistic enough.
there
Yeah.
wasn't like an audience or like.
Oh, it was highly ritualized though. He had the whole little speech that he asked her.
I, well, like, yeah, it just, yeah, it
Has
was,
it-
but I don't know.
Has it verve and cunning, the most of its flock?
There was just no one to witness it. I guess that was the main thing. Like it was just him and then the goat master lady. I forget her name. I don't know.
Was
Like,
it Gwendolyn?
yeah, I think it was Gwendolyn. Yeah, I don't know. Like just, I don't know. I would like a big fire pit of a bunch of people chanting in cloaks or something.
Well, I mean, we
That's
could
what I think
explore
of.
that in like the life of Kier, where it started out like that, and then
Exactly.
over the decades they sanitized the rituals into these like weird corporate rituals.
I would like that. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Cause so yeah, if that's it for the Severance, I was gonna move into what we were watching. And so yeah, I was gonna say that show, The Studio on Apple TV. Did you say you did watch it or you were going to?
I watched it. I wasn't paying close attention to it, but I did watch it. It was very funny. Um, a show that I have been paying a lot more attention to is The White Lotus. I'm not sure if you're following that.
I did watch the first 2 seasons, but I haven't seen this one. But you're liking it?
Season 3 is very good. Yeah, it's very, very good. I don't know. They've got incest brothers, and that's hot.
Yeah, of course you'd like that.
Do you think you're ever
course.
gonna watch it, Jeremy?
I don't know. Like, it's an anthology, right? So like, you don't have to like. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It just doesn't.
With connected characters and connected story elements across the seasons.
So almost like American Horror Story a little bit, maybe.
A little bit like that. Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing I've seen about it just makes it look interesting to me, but like people really like it, so
Yeah. So
That's
you
the
have
thing. Like, if you were just like, what is this show about a resort and rich
To,
people?
yeah, exactly.
You'd be like, this is nothing. But like, have you heard the theme song and seen the credits?
I don't think so.
You need to just the credits from season 1. It's just wallpaper and a theme song, and they make it feel so like dreadful and ominous, but also playful and silly and like weird and like compelling. Like, all you need to do is watch the credits and you'll be hooked on the show.
Damn.
I mean, okay, like for
There
that
you go.
recommendation, I mean, yeah, it's really a show that I would only watch on a recommendation, because yeah, every time I see an advertisement for it, yeah, just rich people on an island, I'm like, okay, I guess. But and also the cast too. Like I think this season has like Walton Goggins in it. And then there's a few
it's
other
got
people.
every season has an incredible cast. It's
Yeah.
got Jennifer Coolidge, who's incredible. And like, I don't think it's too much spoilers to say, but spoilers for The White Lotus, if you are trying not to spoil the first season. Season 1 and every season opens up with the discovery of someone has died, and then the season sort of lays out all of the events prior to that and leading up to that happening. And it's season 2 is a little bit weaker in the sort of end of the show, but season 3 is shaping up to be a very, very strong season.
That's cool. Yeah,
And
I might eventually.
it's not
watch
just the
it.
incest brothers, but like they help.
Cause yeah, I really do like anthology shows. Cause yeah, we just watched season 3 of Fargo finally, and that one, dude, it's one of the best shows on TV that I don't hear anyone talk about like pretty much ever. But yeah, season 3 is.
I mean, the movie was great, and then I have to tell you, I haven't seen season 2 or 3, but I love season 1 of Fargo, and then I just lost track of it. But like, season 1 was incredible.
Yeah,
very good.
one of the best seasons of television, like hands down. And yeah, I mean, yeah, like I think it kind of loses track just because I think they take like 2 or 3 years just between seasons. And yeah, it's like an anthology. They just throw it on like Hulu or something with like FX. But yeah, season 3 is like,
It's hard to build and grow and maintain an audience when you do it that way.
it really is. Yeah, like and I think it used to get maybe season 1 and 2. I think they got like Emmy nominated, but I don't think you'd really hear too much stuff about anything like 4 and 3 and 4 and up.
And they were well casted too. They they had Billy Bob Thornton in season 1, like.
Yeah, I was gonna say for season 3 it's Ewan McGregor.
McGregor?
Obi-Wan Kenobi. He plays like
Yeah.
two brothers, and so they kind of have like this kind of family feud, and like things escalate back and forth.
Ewan McGregor is fantastic. Have you seen Velvet Goldmine?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you should probably watch Velvet Goldmine. That's a very good movie. It's one of his earlier movies. He plays Velvet Goldmine was initially intended to be like a biopic of David Bowie. And then they ended up David Bowie said no, and then they were like, well, we have the script, let's just fictionalize it. And so they have these like alter ego characters that are not actually David Bowie, not actually Iggy Pop, not actually, all these famous musicians, and T-Rex and all these other bands and musicians from that era. But it still tells those stories about those characters, and I don't know, it's incredibly queer. It's got Ewan McGregor making out with I forget, some really hot British actor. So yeah, no, I recommend it, and it's not just for the queer stuff.
Is it before his train spotting days, or is it after that?
It's right around that time. I'm not sure if it's before or after. It's like late 90s.
Okay.
98, 99.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that. That's a good recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the latest thing I've seen him in is like Black Mask and Birds of Prey, and he was a pretty good Black Mask.
He was a pretty good Black Mask, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good actor. I like him. I like Ewan McGregor a lot.
Yeah, he's great. I wish I liked the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, but he did what he could. But it's just Disney.
George Lucas is first George Lucas was determined to torpedo Star Wars, and then Disney was. So.
I'm maybe the only person to say this, but not only do I like the prequel trilogy, but I like them way more than the original trilogy.
All right, so let me just give you a little bit more rope to hang yourself.
Go ahead.
Tell us about Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, the Sith Lord Jar Jar Binks.
Okay, no, that's actually really based.
I don't know, dude. Like, a little bit of it has to be nostalgia, just because I had the Darth Maul lightsaber, I had the curved Count Dooku lightsaber. But even rewatching them as an adult, like, yeah, some of the dialogue is a little iffy, but it is also in the original trilogy. And just with the prequel trilogy, you just get cooler lightsaber fights, cooler pod racing and stuff.
It's true. Oh my god, the lightsaber fights in the first trilogy were painful.
Yeah, and it's just dated. I mean, 20 years from now, if they have a new Star Wars, the prequel trilogy might feel dated. And that's the thing, the prequel like fights should feel dated by the new trilogy that Disney did. And yet all those fight scenes were god awful. Like, the choreography was just awful in those.
That's true.
And yeah, especially just with Revenge of the Sith, it just has the best story for me.
Okay, so for me, there is no better Star Wars than the 2 mini seasons of the Clone Wars that Genndy Tartakovsky did on Cartoon Network. He did a season, 2 seasons of these little 5-minute episodes, in his very stylized Genndy Tartakovsky kind of way, and Tartakovsky is such a masterful visual storyteller, and he really showed off in that show a lot, how much he could do in a confined time frame with just these, I don't know, I don't even want to say brief visuals, because sometimes you're just watching a scene and it's extended and you're like, this is only 5 minutes long. How long are we going to watch the scene? And the way that he times things and paces things is just really pleasurable to watch. Tartakovsky is incredible.
And it's horrible of me to say after what I just said about how much I like the Clone Wars saga, but I haven't watched the show ever. I just never got around to it. It's always something.
Do you mean the 3D one?
No, any of the animated one, the Clone Wars or the whatever the other one is. I haven't watched either of them yet.
Yeah, Tartakovsky's is like this sort of like throwaway thing. like Cartoon Network maybe commissioned or just like let him do it, like, and it was short. It was 2 seasons, and there were these little mini episodes, and you could watch both seasons in an hour. It's and I recommend that you do. I think it is the best Star Wars that is out there.
Is it similar to like the one they had on Disney Plus recently, where it was like different
No,
like countries did their iteration of it? So it's not
no,
similar
that I saw that too. That was like, Disney trying to get Love, Death, and Robots, but for Star
Yeah,
Wars.
like
And
the idea of it's
fine.
amazing. Like there's so much potential of that. Like fan films
Right.
can do insane stuff, but it ended up not being great.
Or like the Animatrix, right? But Disney, but Star Wars. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's not like that at all. It's not like that. Are you a fan of animation? Do you watch Tartakovsky? You know who I'm talking about, right?
Not from the name, no. I mean, I am a big fan of animation. I'll say Arcane
so-
on Netflix was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh yeah, Arcane was fantastic.
But no, who is Tartakovsky? I don't know his other work.
Genndy Tartakovsky, you absolutely do. He did the Powerpuff Girls. He did Dexter's Laboratory. He did Samurai Jack. He did Hotel Transylvania. He's done a ton of stuff.
Oh, yeah, we know him.
He did.
Oh, he did that Primal show, the one with
He
no
did
dialogue,
Primal, which
right?
was excellent. Minimal dialogue.
Oh, minimal. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tartakovsky's brilliance, like I said, it's his visual storytelling, and he really does show off with doing no dialogue or minimal dialogue. He did it in Samurai Jack, he did it in the Clone Wars, and he did it with Primal. Yeah, I would love to see Tartakovsky do some live acted stuff
With that same with his background in animation, but just translated
just
to
with his
live action.
approach.
Yeah.
His visual storytelling and his use of visual as the narrative and as the dialogue is just the way that he can get you to understand that two characters are communicating with these just looks, and the way that he might frame the expression on the face to highlight a particular feature, and then cut back to the other character, and you understand that it's not, we're not just, this isn't just a cut back and forth to like heighten tension. Like, you actually get a sense of information being relayed somehow, and communication between the characters. No one is better at animating, at doing that kind of thing, I think, than Tartakovsky.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'll definitely check that out sometime. Yeah, especially because it's such a blind spot, the animated Star Wars stuff, because I really haven't checked out any of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, you have any more what you've been watching?
Daredevil, which is we're watching.
Oh yeah, I guess picking the Disney stuff. Yeah, have you watched
Oh.
Daredevil at all?
No, talk about it. I've heard it's good. I heard it harkens back to like the Netflix era of Marvel stuff.
Yeah,
where it was like kind of gritty.
So have you seen the Daredevil, like the Netflix series at all?
I liked it.
Okay, yeah. So it's probably the best thing, like the Disney version, Born Again. It's definitely the best thing Disney's done in a long time. It's not it's just not as gritty. It's not as mature as the Netflix series. They're trying to they'll cuss a little bit. There's a little more blood, but it just doesn't have like the kind of mature tone of like just pacing where like something like Better Call Saul has, for example, where it'll just really take its time, and not a way that drags things out, but the just like really maturely handles and just will like go through the thought process of things. Like, it kind of feels it's trying, and it's a good show, but it's not as good as the Netflix series.
Did they bring back the same director?
I want to say they tried to, and there's been like a lot of kind of drama behind the scenes of like they had so much of it, then they ended up doing a lot of reshoots. So I know writing wise, I know it's not a lot of the same writers for a lot of it, but I think they did bring back like some crews, but it's not the same showrunner, I'm pretty sure. So it does have like a different tone. Like you can feel the Disney-ness of it. But like, I'm just happy to get more Daredevil.
Yeah, it was a shame when they canceled it, or at least like didn't didn't say you have one more season, wrap it up, kind of a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I hated the way they handled all the Netflix shows ending, because that and then Luke Cage also ended on just like a really big cliffhanger. Not even like, yeah, cliffhanger, but just with so much more story to tell. And yeah, like they just like cleaned house and just like got rid of it all, when they could have really easily been like, okay, one or two more seasons for these, because we want to use these characters on, Disney Plus in a couple of years. Because yeah, by the time that this show came out, or even when like WandaVision came out, when Disney was first doing it, they could have had another season or two of Daredevil and kind of wrapped it up, and then just done whatever they wanted with the character.
I was really disappointed with where they ended up taking WandaVision. I found it very compelling and interesting to start with, and then it ended up being not anything that I wanted to watch by the end of it. I was sad.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. Yeah, like those first like three or so, like Falcon, and then whatever the other one was of the Disney shows. Yeah, Loki, I watched those, but then after that, I'll just kind of watch them from like Critical Drinker on YouTube, kind of just talking about them. And so I can't really rightfully diss them too hard because I haven't watched them, but there's just nothing too interesting in any of them, and they just seem so just, yeah, just like sanitized and just so Disney, just jokes and nothing really very deep.
I'm kind of surprised that they haven't brought back a Spider-Man show, because they could do that sort of, you know, slightly gritty kind of style that they, with Spider-Man, and they have the budget and for the special effects for it too.
There's an animated one on Disney Plus that I heard really good things about, but I haven't heard, like I haven't really seen just it pop up in the culture very much. But I've heard people really like it, but it's been very few people that actually talked about it. But yeah, because I don't even know the name of it, but it's just some kind of like animated Spider-Man show. So yeah. Well, okay. So I guess the final question that I was gonna spring on you is not that big of a, it's not a crazy question, but basically, in the spirit of solipsism, what's a movie that you feel like was not your favorite movie, but just a movie that you feel like was made only for you to watch?
Oh my god. I don't know if it was only for me to watch, but I don't know if we're talking about almost like a comfort movie or a movie that I can't stop watching almost compulsively, or cyclically, is probably Doctor Sleep.
Oh yeah, okay.
I really liked Doctor Sleep, maybe more than I should, and every year it seems like from like August to December, I just have to watch it once a week. I don't know why.
And that's another Ewan McGregor one.
Yeah, that's another Ewan McGregor one, and he's very good in that too. He's just very good.
Yeah, I watched it twice. I think once the theatrical and once I think it has like a little bit of a director like extended version, which is a little bit it fleshes out things a little more. I always want to like it more. I just really love the idea of it and just like the more supernatural elements. But I don't know what I don't like about it. Like I don't not like that they did The Shining. I like those parts at the end. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about it just feels.
I almost want to call it like. I mean, this is underselling it. Like I almost want to call it like an extremely well executed mediocre film, but that undersells it. Like it's better than a mediocre film, I think, and it is very well executed. I don't know, but it's not like revolutionary. It's not groundbreaking. It's not. It's not some incredible feat of filmmaking. But yeah, I don't know. It's I just like it a lot, and I watch it a lot. I don't know why.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, solid.
What do you say, Jackie?
For me, I'm gonna say The Sadness, because I grew up watching a bunch of horror movies, and so watching The Sadness now, it's just like I'm happy and surprised that like a horror movie like that can still like happen, exist, because I just like all the gory and scary stuff, and it looks great too.
I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, I think it's from like 2021. I want to say it's from Taiwan. But it's like a zombie movie, but basically like they are zombies, but it's basically like a virus that just like brings out the most evil, like depraved,
kind of like 30 Days Later.
Yeah, or more close to the comic Crossed, which the director's actually
Okay.
doing a live action iteration of somehow. I don't know how he's gonna do
Yeah, I
that,
know.
but yeah, I like the Sadness a lot too. That's a
Yeah,
good one.
it's so awesome.
Yeah, yeah, those movies have to be like either foreign or like very indie just to be able to, yeah, just show and do like just the awful stuff that
I know,
happens in that.
so crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What about you?
The last
Yeah.
one I gave was Donnie Darko, so I don't want to just give the same answer every
Donnie
time.
Darko is so good.
But it is so, yeah, like you can't give the same answer every time. But with Donnie Darko, like, yeah, that movie is just so pivotal in just starting like my intellectual journey. But just to give a different one, I'll say The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Okay.
That one, Roger Deakins did the cinematography. It's actually directed by Andrew Dominic, which I don't think a lot of people know him by name, but it's one of the most like just visually stunning movies. Like just like the train robbery in the beginning is just like, yeah, not even just movie wise, probably like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in like my whole life.
Yeah.
It is so sick. Like just the lighting and just the music and the pace of it is so good. And yeah,
I haven't seen it. I know the name of the film. I just haven't seen it.
Watch it.
yeah, it's a mouthful. Then and
Yeah.
it's a spoiler. Okay, who's gonna die. You know who's gonna do it.
That's fine. Yeah.
But oh yeah, I recommend it so much. Like it is, the whole score is incredible. And yeah, like dude, it's Roger Deakins, dude. Like he did this the same year he did No Country for Old Men. I don't know how.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, we just rewatched that like a couple of nights ago. So good. Oh man, I could talk about that for hours.
Are you both horror fans then?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen The Possession of Michael King?
Michael King? I don't think
Yeah.
so.
That's a pretty fun twist on a possession film, I think.
Oh yeah, I haven't even heard of this one. That's a good recommendation.
I've got a few sort of deep cut horror films that I usually recommend. Have you seen A Dark Song?
No, I haven't. Oh man. Yeah, you got some good ones.
Yeah.
Oh, that one looks cool.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Yeah, I haven't seen or even like yeah, heard of anything from this.
They're both really good. A Dark Song is a great slow burn. Um,
I really
a
do
few
appreciate slow
other-
burns. This if like pure like atmospherics and just like cinematography that just holds it the whole way through.
Yeah. If you're looking for a few other deep cuts, you could try The Innkeepers.
Like,
If you haven't heard of that.
no, it's not too often people get me off guard with like random indie horror movies, but you're doing a
Yeah.
good job. Huh.
Whoa.
I think I know the the lead in this. She looks pretty familiar. Sarah
Yeah.
Paxton.
Yeah. And my last recommendation for a deep cut horror film, this is my last one, I promise. Scare Me from 2020. It's produced by Josh Rubin and it stars Josh Rubin and Aya Cash, who played Stormfront in The Boys.
Oh, dude, I love her. She's so good.
Yeah, yeah, she was great. And this movie is like sparse as hell. It's got like 4 or 5 actors in it, and mostly it's just 2. And it's funny and it's weird and it's scary and it's cool.
Yeah, I love how weird horror movies can get.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, well, okay. Here, I said I didn't have another one, but you may have seen this one actually. Dave Made a Maze. Have you seen that one?
I think it's on my list. I've heard of it. I honestly might.
That's a
I might own it
really-
honestly, but I haven't seen it.
That's a really weird, fun, strange horror movie.
Yeah, honestly, I think I want to say Vinegar Syndrome had a release of it, and I have like 50 movies on my shelf I haven't watched yet that I have.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
But yeah, I think I have heard of that one. It's this the indie genre of like horror. It's just you can just do like whatever, and that's really the best genre for doing that. Sci-fi is probably the only other one you could just take it
Yeah,
like just
I-
based on a concept. You can make a whole movie.
I appreciate some of the interesting philosophical questions that horror and science fiction in particular can make us consider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially
I
with
mean, Severance is that, right? That's probably a science fiction film to an extent,
I would say so, yeah. But yeah, especially with like
or a TV show.
yeah, with like a lower budget. Yeah, it's just like it's so good for indie filmmakers because just on the idea alone, if it's just like such, it just kind of just depends on the writing and just like the passion behind it. For sci-fi, I think you kind of maybe need to rely on a bigger budget, depending on how much you're doing. But yeah, for horror, it's just like yeah, just like the passion of the filmmaker, and you can just play around and just do like really weird things that you couldn't really do in a normal movie per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Cool.
Well, cool. Yeah, thanks for talking to me about Severance. Yeah, it's a great show. I'm looking forward to season 3 for sure.
Bring me back on when you watch White Lotus.
I will, yeah, and definitely for Severance also. We could just do every. Well, I don't want to say every year now because who knows how many years between seasons they're gonna have. But
Oh, who knows?
Yeah, true.
but yeah, we can come on to talk about Severance again too because yeah, the fan theories are just gonna get like more and more ludicrous every
Insane,
year.
dude, yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am excited to see the Severance world blow up a little bit and become spin-offs and stuff like
Oh,
that. I keep on like, man, I wish there was some wiki with like just pages and pages of like obscure Severance like stuff that I could go read, but there's not because the world doesn't exist as much as I want it to yet.
Yeah, give it a few more years and there'll be like full on. Yeah, there'll be that. They'll like fans will just make a whole other show of things that you could just read
Yeah.
and like just be completely immersed in. But I would love to see at least like one spin-off show, even if it's just one season, which might be the best way to do it. Would be really cool to see.
I hope so.
Hmm. Well, okay. So yeah, thanks for joining me. I'll definitely have you on again for Severance or White Lotus. I don't want to make any promises for White Lotus. I have a billion things to
Promise.
watch.
Promise.
Yeah.
But-
You now have 4 new weird deep cut horror films to watch.
Oh,
yeah, we'll watch
They'll go on my Netflix queue. They'll be on there, but like I said,
They're not on
Oh.
Netflix.
Where do you watch them?
Shudder.
Okay.
oh yeah,
Yeah, we can try Shudder.
yeah. What?
Some of them. I don't think Innkeepers is on Shudder. I found that years ago and pirated it.
Yeah, I usually buy like movies anyways, or at least if it's something that
Sure.
I'll want to watch once, I'll just rent it off like Apple TV or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I do, especially for indie stuff. I like to try to support it just a little bit,
Yeah.
what you can. But yeah, sometimes there's indie movies that you want to buy and they just never release. So what are you gonna do?
You're gonna sail the open seas.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, thanks for joining me, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
All right. Bye bye. Thanks for having
Bye.
me.